How's it going, everyone? This is Mitchell Mander here, and welcome to another review of the Boruto anime. Today we're going to be covering episode 172, and yeah, this episode was kind of it was alright. There were some funny moments, but it didn't really get interesting to me until the very end of the episode. But yeah, it's can't have every episode be a good episode, I guess. But anyways, guys, if you like this type of content, be sure to like and subscribe as I cover this series on a weekly basis whenever the episodes come out. I started covering the series really regularly when the car actuation arc started, and I will continue to do so. Anyways, let's get on to that review, shall we? The episode starts off with Boruto in the hospital, because in the last episode he kinda knocked himself out after using that high compression Rasengan. So he's in the hospital, he's out cold, and Denki Iwabi and Madeline come to give him a burger to cheer him up. Hopefully he feels better. I wish somebody would do that for me if I were in the hospital, by the way. I know. Wabi's a bro. But anyways, obviously Boruto doesn't wake up, but there's a kid in the hospital named Natu that actually throws a ketchup bomb at Iwabi, and it causes a lot of mischief in the hospital. And it turns out this kid's actually, he's a prankster. He wants to be a shinobi himself, but yeah, it looks like he's gonna have some major surgery that it seems to be life-threatening. So he hasn't come to terms with it. So he basically pranks around and tries to get away and mess around in the hospital. But it turns out Denki Iwabi and Metal talk to him, and it turns out he has a favor for them. He wants an autograph from Orochimaru, and of course it freaks them all out because Orochimaru is, you know, a dangerous person, a very dangerous person that has done a lot of pretty bad things in the future, in the past. So yeah, at first they're like, yeah, sorry, we got something else to do, and he's like, oh yeah, well, nobody will do that, you're all chickens. So they're like, alright, we'll make it happen. Once they find out his situation, they decide to go through with it. Well, at least Iwabi does. So Orochimaru's hideout is top secret, so they end up doing some research. They break into some an area with records, and Denki hacks the computer and finds Orochimaru's information on where he's at, and they actually find out even worse information on him. And yeah, they somehow, I don't know how, but it looks like they got out of the village somehow, and they found Orochimaru's hideout, and they go up to the guy that's in Yamamoto's place. Like, yeah, what are you guys doing here? And he's like, you're here for an autograph? Like, yeah, go home. And they explain their situation, and somehow it convinces this guy to let them into the hideout. Typical, huh? So they end up going through the hideout, and they eventually come across Sugetsu, who's sleeping in his water tank. And he's like, oh, you know, you kids go home. You know, Orochimaru's really busy, and they end up getting into a little bit of a fight with Sugetsu. They find out his weakness, but it doesn't really do anything, and he pretty much handles them pretty well. They can't take out Sugetsu, and that's when Orochimaru shows up. He's like, alright, what the heck is going on in here? And they're all freaking out when they see Orochimaru. And he's like, oh, why'd you all come? Especially at your level of skill, why the heck did you come out here? You're very courageous, I'll give you that, but yeah, you're gonna get pretty much destroyed here. But they explain their situation, they ask for the autograph, and Orochimaru's like, yeah, whatever. The interesting thing here is that as Orochimaru walks out, he's like, ah, it looks like Mitsuki has actually gained other friends besides Boruto. Who would have thought? So, Iwabi and the others go back to the hospital, and Nadu over here is causing mischief once again. And Iwabi shows up like, here you go. And he's like, what the heck? You actually got it? And like, yeah, it was no big deal. It was not a problem for us. But yeah, we got it. And literally that's the end of that storyline. Now we get back to the actual storyline in this car actuation arc, when Boruto wakes up from the hospital and Kakashi's there, and he pretty much informs him that, yeah, you almost lost your arm when you used that jutsu, so yeah, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not permitted to use that jutsu very often, because if you do, yeah, you could risk losing your arm or doing some permanent damage. So it's pretty much like the Rasen Shuriken when it was introduced, like literally the same thing over again. Anyways, Boruto and Sarada meet back up, and it's revealed that Boruto actually has the ring, or Anato's ring. Remember Anato? Remember Anato and Mia from the very beginning of this arc? Yeah. So they actually got permission, and Boruto and Sarada are heading back to where Mia's at, and they're unfortunately going to give her her husband's ring, because as of right now, he's probably most likely dead, considering what Victor probably did to him after he came back to the lab. So yeah, some sad news for Mia, unfortunately. So the episode ends off back at Victor's place in the Land of Valleys, and Deepa shows up, and he tells Victor, like, yeah, unfortunately I didn't get the puppet. And Victor's a little annoyed about this, but anyways, they're entering the final stages of their experiments. And Deepa over here is talking about eating more fruit. I possibly wonder what he could be referring to. Anyways, turns out that the feudal lord is coming to inspect, so looks like Konohamaru and Majino are probably going to have to disguise themselves as a feudal lord. So, yeah. Something to look forward to in the next episode. But anyways, that's where the episode comes to an end. So I'll be honest right here. I don't hate this episode by any means, but this episode's placement is very awkward. I mean, the latter part of the episode, or like the very end of the episode, is the stuff that I want from this arc. But this episode, I feel like this would have worked better in a transitional episode, because it was very inconsequential to the plot of the episode, and it felt kind of just fillerish. But I will admit there were some parts that were pretty funny. It's just that it just does not work for the car actuation arc. You know, back at the end of the Majina Bandits arc, when they had episode 152, the Sarada's medical ninjutsu training, the gag episode back then, that episode took place in between these arcs. So I wasn't too upset when that episode came out. In fact, I thought that episode was fairly entertaining, even though a lot of people didn't seem to like it that much. But for this episode, this would have worked better following the end of the car actuation arc. We had a few transitional episodes before we went into our arc. So that's just me, though. I just didn't feel like this episode worked. Unfortunately, I will say it did make me laugh at certain points. I will say that. But overall, it felt fillerish. But I will say this. Iwabi is totally a bro, because he brought his friend Boruto a burger when he was in a hospital bed. So yeah, you get plus 2 points for that, Iwabi. Anyways, that's all I got for the review. I'm gonna give this episode, I'm guessing I'm going to give it like a 4 or 4.5 out of 10. So, kind of episode. Had some funny moments, but it didn't really get interesting until the very end when the plot actually picked back up. So anyways, guys, what'd you think of this episode? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Post your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and I'll talk to you guys later. You all stay safe out there and have a great day or night wherever you're at. Peace.